Welcome to Notes from the Messy Middle. I'm Erin Gregory, storyteller, business owner, wife, and mom of three. If you've ever found yourself stuck between where you started and where you hope to be, you're in the right place. My hope is that you'll hear your own story in these conversations and feel inspired, because the best progress happens right in the messy middle. Hey listeners, I hope you're doing well out there. It's your host, Erin Gregory. You know, I love exploring that transitional period in life, the moment that often lead to really great success stories. And a couple of years ago, we didn't realize it, but Mike and I were right in the middle of one. We had moved a lot, 7 times in total, and we were sick of it. Not to mention it was expensive, but each move meant we got a little bit closer to our final destination, which was a place where we could grow and thrive and put down roots for our family. We lived in some dumps along the way, so every upgrade felt like pretty great progress. Then 2020 hit. The pandemic cost us both our jobs, and like so many people, we were left wondering what to do next. We were living in Indiana and had already been thinking about moving to Columbus, so when everything changed, we made the choice, and we went. It was a huge leap of faith, but Columbus put us closer to our family and into a community with more opportunity in our industries, which is the nonprofit and art sectors. So it was the right move. And because we were without jobs, we moved to this little bitty condo on the top floor, which was super fun with 3 kids and 2 dogs. But it was across the street from the school. It was in the town we wanted to be in. So in our mind, the hard part was over. We had made the big decision, and we were there. So then fast forward a year later, we're starting to build some stability, and the pandemic afforded us the opportunity to build a house because that was where the market was at that point. And we locked in at a 2.9% mortgage rate, which was fantastic. But a couple of years into this house, we were starting to outgrow it. My consulting business was starting to take off, and I was full-time from home, and I was working out of a desk in the kitchen. And Mike could barely do his music at all. He was working out of a utility closet in the basement. So after we'd kind of gotten to this nice, comfortable place, I did what I always do, which was think about how I can grow at that point. And there was an open house in our neighborhood for a bigger model. So I took the girls there because they like to go to open houses too and meander around. And that's where we met Michelle Cosner. And Michelle is one of those people who you can tell knows exactly who she is. I remember noticing her shoes. They were so unique, and her energy matched that same confidence. She wasn't pushy, she was just genuine. And her knowledge of our area was incredible. And I have texted her ever since about anything that really comes up where I don't know what the answer is, and it has to do with our community. And she either knows the answer or she knows somebody who does. So long story short, Michelle showed up in our kitchen later that week, sat down and said, I think that you can afford more than you realize. And we were still new to the housing market in Columbus and didn't really know the value of our property compared to those around us, the comps. And she laid it out for us. So we kind of knew what we were looking at, but then she found this dream house that there was no way I thought we could afford because interest rates were back up to 6%, which meant our monthly payment was going to be a lot higher than we were comfortable with. But this was an assumable loan, which means we were taking on a VA loan from the current owner, and that was at 3%. So we'll get into a little bit more of that as we go through this, but that's how we met Michelle. She is fabulous, and she's here with us today to talk about her journey into real estate and how she got to where she is today, which is a super successful realtor here in Ohio. Michelle, thanks for joining me.
Wow, talk about an introduction there. Well, I appreciate that because it's this industry, the real estate business it's very buttoned up. It is very, I don't even know how to describe it, but for somebody that lives and thinks in a creative space, it can feel very, very isolating because we are in a business where everyone expects a professional, and I am a professional, but in my own way. And I love that I just try to create a space where I can meet people where they are, right? And I think that's why, even for me with my social media accounts and stuff, I really just try to invite people into my world so that the very first time I sit down with them, they're like very relaxed and they're like, I know who she is. I know her dog's names. I know her daughter plays soccer. I know all of these things. And I just think it's such like a great spot to be in where you can just kind of relax and be yourself, still be a professional, but just let who you are come through.
Yeah, and you didn't just come out of the box that way.
No.
It took a little practice to get there. So let's talk about that. What did life and work look like for you before, you kind of made that shift and really started to see traction in your business?
Yeah. So when I decided to get back into real estate, we had moved here from Akron, Ohio. So I'm originally from Northeast Ohio. Family moved here. And I was a stay-at-home mom, right? I was just doing the mom thing. And I don't even like saying that. I wasn't just doing the mom thing because the mom thing is tough. That is a tough business, right? But I was a stay-at-home mom and I had always had a love and passion for real estate. So I just decided one day, I'm going to get my real estate license. So I reached out to a peer mentor and she was in the real estate industry. She was actually the one that helped us when we decided we were going to build our home here. And she told me that I shouldn't do it because I wasn't cut out for it.
Burn.
Yeah. And so for me, I was so excited because I was thinking in my mind, I was like, this is finally going to be something that I'm going to do, that I'm going to create. I'm going to just run with it. And when I went to somebody trying to get, some counsel and encouragement and, this is how you do it and explain the process, it was met with you're not cut out for this and I don't think you should do it, which that to me was devastating. So my self-esteem, everything was already in the gutter because you kind of lose yourself. I think that there's various points in people's lives where we just kind of like lose who we are and what we're about and what we're passionate about. You lose like who you are, right? You're a parent, you're a spouse, you're all of these things, but who am I? And why am I this way? And what do I want to do? And what's my place in this world? I just decided to take a deep dive into it and started a real estate business. Was not easy at all. I think what most people don't know about real estate is you are truly an entrepreneur. You're a small business owner. You have to figure out a way to get business. You go to school, you take the tests, you read the books, you do all the things. But to be a business owner is a completely separate animal. It's just different. So I really struggled with, how do I create a business? How do I get people, to know me and like me and trust me? And what does that look like? So I don't know. You start comparing, right? Comparison is the devil. You're looking at all of these other real estate agents and what they're about, what they're doing, how are they getting business? You're watching them on social media. And so you try to replicate, right? You don't have to reinvent the wheel. So you're just doing what they're doing. And for somebody like me, it just felt off. I was unhappy doing it. And I didn't want a career and a job anymore where I felt unhappy. I wanted it to be for me and who I was. So I had just decided, after months of just feeling the ick about trying to get business in a way that wasn't me, and I just let go and just decided I'm just going to be authentic in who I am and show the good, the bad, the ugly, right? So
You were saying yes to everything, which, gosh, any of us who I think have tried to start a business or be successful goes through that point.
Yep.
And, I talk to folks often about burnout and this, idea that you have to please everybody. And it's just not true. You find your tribe. You find the people who buy into what you are selling, and that could be a product or it could be you. And when you're in sales, when you're an entrepreneur, when you have your own business, it is very much you. So tell me about that. At what point did you stop saying yes?
I stopped saying yes when I knew it was no longer serving me. And it was so empowering to finally find your voice when you can say no And that is a complete sentence. But I will say that, in order for me to even get there, it took, like you were saying, like how I had to find the right tribe, the right people. So you put yourself in rooms with people that are going to, open doors for you, and you really listen to them. And I actually, I'm on a real estate team. It's called the Sona Home Group. And my team lead and my mentor, she was the one that really guided me, and really started teaching me what the business is and how I can adapt it to suit me. And so she's been, instrumental for me in terms of just constantly being a support to tell me, like, do it your way. You know what I mean? Like, this is not a one size fits all, and you should do it your way. And I think that's why people call me and they lean on me a lot, because I'm just very much open. Like, let's talk about it. So for me, like, I guess getting back to your original question, saying no to me just became when things were no longer serving me. If it wasn't making me feel good and it wasn't igniting me, exciting me, it was a no.
Yeah, and I
Hard
love
no.
that you left the situation that wasn't working for you, and you went out and you found a group of people who did support you.
Yeah.
Because those people are out there. And if you're in a situation right now that is making you miserable, your leadership doesn't support you, there's no room for growth, man, get out of it. Figure out a way to
1,000%. I
Right.
mean, if it's, I wish I'm like later stages in life at this point, and I wish this was a lesson that I had learned decades ago.
Yeah.
Decades ago. But I also don't think that I was in the right place even then to hear it. And it takes, I think, time to grow into yourself. And, the fact that, whether you're talking about your career or just life in general, like, we are just constantly changing and we're constantly evolving into different people. And so every year it's like you almost feel like you have to get to know a new version of yourself. And some people resist that and don't like it and don't want to change. I am here for it. I love to change because that means I'm growing, I'm constantly learning. But in order to do that, like you have to say no to things that are no longer serving you. And that upsets people. Some people don't like hearing it, but it's the way it goes.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's such a good point. I know so many women and men who have survived that difficult process of changing. And that's why I wanted to start this podcast when I did, because I'm in the middle of taking this next step with my business. And I thought, well, what the heck? We always hear stories from people who have succeeded. Let's go through the struggle together. So here we are, building something new, trying some new things, and just seeing what sticks, because that's the only way you figure it out.
Well, that's it. I mean, you have to try new things, right? It's trial and error. And that is a lot of what my career thus far has been like. It's like, let's try it. What is it? You throw the spaghetti noodle against the wall. If it sticks, it's done. I have done that so many times in my career that it's unbelievable. And at this point now, it's like I have figured out, what am I good at? What do I like doing? And then I just simply do that.
Yeah. And tell me a little bit about some of those things you tried and it didn't work, but then what finally did work?
I mean, it goes back to just being myself. I look back at my very early posts on social media, early videos and stuff, and it's like, as my daughter would say, like, the ick and the cringe is like through the roof. I can't, sometimes I almost can't even breathe. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's no way, But so for me, it was just getting comfortable, because I mean, even as a real estate agent, we're on video and stuff a lot. It's getting comfortable with, hey, like, that is how I look and that is how I sound. It's like nothing is going to change about that. So it's just being comfortable, I guess, enough with yourself. And for me, part of building that comfort was trying to build my confidence, because I had none, right? I just felt like, nobody wants to hear from me. Who would want me to help them with their, largest transaction of their life? Surely nobody, right? But it's, confidence doesn't just happen. It's like you get your confidence through consistently doing what makes you feel good. And that's just simply what I did. And what I love doing is just helping people. When I strip it down to the barest bones of why I do what I do, it's because I love to be a part of somebody's story for where their life happens. It's their home, it's their place of safety. It's their place of comfort. It's all of these things, and that I get to be a part of getting them there is amazing. That's what I love doing.
Yeah, and you are very good at it because you take the time to listen and to let people get to know you beyond just what's on a business card. And that's so important.
Sure. And it's scary to, let people know who you are, especially when you're on a public platform, because when they say no to you, they're rejecting you,
Yeah.
So our industry is just full of rejection. And it's like, I get you. Listen, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I thoroughly understand that, and I've been told this numerous times, and I'm like, that's okay.
I'm right there with you.
And that's okay. It's, but I truly believe that, things kind of come full circle. Like, it's not even lost on me that it's like I'm sitting, in your basement and we're doing this together in the home that I helped you build. I remember walking down in this basement, and it was like, you were trying to envision like how to finish it and what to do with it. And it's like, now we're here, right? What a cool experience, right?
Yeah, it really is. Now, you don't have a sales background. You were not this outgoing, typical realtor personality. So how did you kind of have this passion for this industry? Where did it start?
Yeah. So it kind of goes way back. It goes way, way back to like when I was a little kid. So my upbringing, and for probably a lot of people that may listen to this is going to be upsetting to them, right? But my hope is that it just kind of helps somebody, feel better and know, that you can take something bad and you can turn it into something good.
Yep.
So for me, the way I grew up in a very bizarre household. And when I say it was a bizarre household, I don't even mean to laugh, but so it was a very loving household, but it was also very abusive. My mother was just everything, right? She taught me how to be a mother. My father, on the other hand, completely different story. He was physically abusive, emotionally abusive, just a very, very dark upbringing, because on one hand, you're smiling and you're happy because you've got this really loving, kind, generous, nurturing mother. And then, there's the other part of your life where you hear the garage door open in Dad's home, and it's like, oh my God, like what version am I getting tonight? You know what I mean? So it was a difficult upbringing. So circling back to real estate. So I remember we would go to church on Sundays, and this was like way back in the day. So after church, we'd go to this little bakery place sometimes and get donuts. We'd come home, be at the kitchen table with the Sunday newspaper. And this is back when houses were only in the newspaper, right? So you would look to see what open houses were. And so I don't know what drew me to it, but I just started getting this curiosity about there's these homes that are for sale. And I would kind of look at them and start asking my mom or my dad, like, I want to go to this open house. And they were like, why in the world? Like, why would we take you to an open house? And I said, I don't know. I'm just interested in going. And I still remember I had this, you remember our Trapper Keepers? Do you remember those? Yeah. So I had this Trapper Keeper, and it had that Velcro. It was like when you opened it, but I had like a notebook and and I just all this stuff in it. And so it had a unicorn on the front. And I remember I would take it with me. And I remember my dad, he was actually the one that used to, ironically, take me the most. So we'd go to these open houses and we'd walk in, and he'd always be like, we have no interest in buying a house. My daughter's just weird and wants to come look at houses. So I would walk around these houses, right? And I know it, I guess like maybe to the listener, like, why would you want to do this? And in my childlike brain, I was thinking to myself, I wonder what this family is like that lives here. Sure. I wonder if they feel safe. Mm-hmm. And I would like just take notes about the house and what it looked like, what it smelled like, what the decor was, like all of these things. And then I would go home and I would write these stories about, the family that lived there, and that included me, in the safety of being in that home, and how it felt like safe at night, and it, no one was getting hit, and no one was getting none of these things. When people say, why do you do what you do? I mean, it's truly because I know that there is a bigger picture, like people's lives happen at home, and that's where they're supposed to feel safe and loved, and where they can take a breath and be themselves. And for me growing up, I didn't have that. So now that I'm able to build a career knowing that I am bringing that to other people is why I love what I do.
That's so beautiful. I mean, it's powerful when you take control of that part of your life
Mm-hmm.
by not trying to please anybody else.
Yeah. Yeah, 1,000%. I mean, at some point in your life, you got to look back and you got to say, these things happened to me. This has shaped me into this person. And ultimately, it's an impasse, right? It's either going to make you better or you're going to go down a different route. And I think everyone has that choice, right? So you either figure out a way to take a bad scenario and flip it to something that is more powerful and bigger than you, or you can let it define you and it can just be that.
Yeah, I mean, and we have certainly been through our fair share of experiences like that. And there were times where we went down the dark road. And I think a lot of people do before they realize, a couple of losses, a couple of changes, a couple of bad opportunities come your way or bad choices. And after you do that once or twice, you learn not to do it anymore. And you eventually say, that's enough. And I'm going to make the choice that's best for me. And that's what brought us to Columbus, because we had to make a choice for ourselves instead of letting a company and a job decide it. And when you found this house for us, I mean, it was surreal.
Yeah. And I remember saying to you, we're going to look at this one I know the price. And I remember telling you not to freak out. I said, because I knew about the assumable loan and what this meant for your monthly payment and how this can help. And I was like, don't freak out yet. I think even Mike, when he first, because I think he was the first one to come see it, I think we knew. We're like, this is it.
Yeah. And then once, we got the ball rolling, and I will not go into the joys of an assumable loan because nobody will want to sit through that conversation.
No.
But just know, if you ever encounter an assumable loan, Michelle's super knowledgeable about them. After our experience, It was a headache, but I tell you what, nobody worked harder. And that doesn't go unnoticed. We are still friends today. You're just a good person to know, whether it's due to your real estate knowledge or just who you are.
Oh, thank you.
Which is why I wanted you to be here and talk to my little audience, because, we all go through crap. And I did not know the depth of Michelle's story when I asked her on here. I just really valued who she was. And usually when you meet somebody who knows who they are, they've been through some things. So if you're going through some things, just understand that you are on your way to figuring it out, and just keep going. So now, Michelle, we've been through a really interesting market for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So with all of that in mind, what does success look like for you today?
Success to me is having and finding joy in what I do. And that is just simply this, like, real estate to me has been the only job or career I can ever say, outside of being a mother, has been the only job or career I can honestly say I wake up every day and I am truly excited. Yeah. It's not, I don't have Sunday scaries. I don't have dread about what I do. You know what I mean? Like, I wake up, I'm excited. I'm like, because there's possibility. And so to me, that is success, right? When you have a job and a career that you do not dread, you won.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, Mike and I don't even talk about retiring, really. We talk about scaling back. But I think I'll always write. And I think he'll always play music, and the day-to-day jobs will likely change, but we will always be immersed in what we really love doing. So future state, what do you envision in 5 years?
Oof. 5 years. I think bigger business. I think every year, strangely, like October, November, this becomes like goal setting time for, realtors in general. And so I always take stock and I look back at my business. And I did this the other week. I went back and I looked at every single transaction I ever closed since I started my career in real estate. And I wanted to connect the dots. I wanted to kind of map out, like, how did I meet that person? And what I found out, all of my business comes from people that either know me or people that know me, it's their friends and family. So referrals. 99.9% of my business is that way. I always tell people, just when we close on a house, like, that's just the beginning. Like this relationship is, my goal is to always be that person's real estate agent, right? And I'm, I dropped off candy and cookies.
So
and
you
stuff.
helped my sister
Yeah.
find a home, a rental, which wasn't even really a profitable experience for you.
Yeah. It goes back to, why am I doing what I'm doing? It's like, sometimes there's a paycheck at the end of it. Sometimes there's not. Yeah. So 5 years from now, what does my business look like? Hopefully bigger.
Bigger properties?
Bigger properties. I think, for me, I think even too, when it comes to marketing properties, I live in this creative space for how I want to show them. And when I work with my videographer, it's a great working relationship because I'm able to text them and say, this is, the vision I have for it. And even in my own head, I have ideas for how I want videos to look and what I want to say. And I don't even have the properties yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for the right properties to fall in my lap. So
and you talked about potentially doing some rentals too as you go down the line. Is that
absolutely? That's definitely, that's where you build wealth all day long, is through investments. And I don't have any yet, but that is definitely on my radar for sure.
Yeah, and that's what the couple I wrote my book about. They quit their jobs and decided to start a real estate investment company so that they had the ability to travel as well as build up the community that they grew up in when we were in Terre Haute. And that's really kind of what launched this whole concept, was inspired by their journey and this idea that you can create the life you want and help people along the way. And those two things combined are so fulfilling.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, well, Michelle, it was wonderful talking to you.
Thank you so much for having me. I mean, this has been an honor, to say the least, and I appreciate it. So thank you so much.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for sharing your story. And where can folks connect with you if they just want to chat or if they're looking to buy a house?
I mean, I'm in Central Ohio, Columbus, Ohio. I live here in Delaware and can, definitely help clients all throughout Central Ohio. But even outside of the state, like I can do the legwork, for somebody looking in a house in Rhode Island if you want to. I can help interview the agents and kind of match you up with somebody that matches your style. Because I truly believe when it comes to real estate, you gotta work with somebody that you know, like, and trust.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to get a hold of me, Instagram, KW_homegirl. And then Facebook, you can just look me up, Michelle Cosner. I'm in there. You'll find me.
It'll be in the show notes as well, all linked. So easy access for you if you need to contact Michelle. Well, thank you again, Michelle.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to today's conversation. I hope it gave you encouragement for your own messy middle. If you'd like to connect with today's guests, you'll find their links in the show notes. And if you'd like more stories like this, or a peek into my own writing journey, you can find me on Substack and social media at Erin Gregory Creative, or visit my website at erinGregoryCreative.com. Until next time, thanks for joining us in the Messy Middle.